game contains screen-shaking violence, vomit, body horror, and worms. Hello to anyone who cares, my name is Silentesque, and welcome to Astronought. Now, this is a visual novel game that, for all I know, is we are on a spaceship, we wake up, and everything's gone wrong and our crew is missing, except for a singular crewmate. That's really all I know, and I'm excited to see where this story takes us. So, without further ado, Astronought. Okay. Vessel, Bidadari 221. Designation, Mechanic. Please input crewmate identification. Ah, well. This is my name. Oh, thank you. Jesus Christ, okay. The moment my eyes flicked open, I instantly knew something was wrong. I think that's the first time a visual novel has, come close to, jump scaring me just by showing a background. So that's fun. Bright red lights flooded the ambience within my private quarters, leaving everything looking blood-soaked and gruesome. For a second, there was a pulse of fear in my chest before it faded, my logic stifling my instincts, telling me it was too soon to panic. Despite how the crimson hues signaled danger all around me, it was better to keep my head on straight. My hand reaches up to scratch an uncomfortable itch on my collar, only to find my arm was caught underneath my toppled desk. Oh dear. Luckily, my suit cushioned most of the impact, leaving a dull ache and nothing more. Grunting with effort, I kicked off the offending furniture and sat up to assess everything, fixing my visor over my eyes. I casted a quick glance around my room, some furniture toppled on their sides, and my usually neat shelf of books and trinkets chaotic and disorganized. Did the ship crash into something while I was asleep? Usually there was a piercing alarm accompanying the emergency lights, but oddly enough, it's gone quiet. Either I slept through it somehow, or something else happened for it to malfunction. As the person in charge of repairs and maintenance, that didn't bode well to me in the slightest. Just the sheer volume of that siren should have woken me up. Sigh? I called out to the room, expecting a matronly, if a little stoic, voice to respond back. Delayed responses from the ship's AI weren't uncommon, but they could still happen. As a spacecraft shipping nothing but Earthian pet supplies across the galaxy, we weren't really working with the most advanced tech there is. Not to mention the budget cuts. I sighed, already feeling a migraine forming in the back of my head. Sigh, can you respond, please? Still nothing. I clicked my tongue. That's not a good start. I inhaled deeply and stood up to exit my room, my boots clunking down the hall the only accompaniment I had as I made my way to the main console. Along the way, I didn't see any other signs of disturbance, not like the one in my room at least. I scratched at my arm, keeping a lookout for any trouble. You're doing an awful lot of scratching. I'm suspicious of the scratching, I will say, immediately. I have suspicions on that, but we'll carry on. Everything seemed to be business as usual. Other than the emergency lights, that is. A nagging thought crept into my head. While I wanted to take the current situation seriously, I couldn't help feeling skeptical. Was it another one of their pranks again? It's been a few months of me working for this company. I was expecting the hazing phase to die out any day now. Or at least, I hoped it would eventually. There's only so many ways one can keep themselves entertained on a shipping vessel months into a trip, I supposed. I just hated the fact that I was one of those ways. Regardless, whatever's happening is worth investigating, awful co-workers or not. I could only hope I got out of this one without any lasting trouble. Reaching the main console of the ship, I frowned at the absence of my crewmates. It was getting a little ridiculous how quiet the space was, other than the ambient humming and occasional blips from the console. At first, I didn't want to feel offended at the fact nobody came to fetch me if it was a possible emergency, but the greeting silence only formed a pit in my stomach. Captain? Anyone? Is this another disappearing bit? Because it wasn't funny the last 2 times either. The lights are a nice touch though. No stifled chortles, no snarky quips. Bristling from the quiet, I called out again. Come on, guys, I'd rather you insult me than leave me in the dark like this. Nothing? I sighed and shuffled over to the main panel. Pulling the lever to disable the emergency lights, the dark, gory tint of the room fades away into its usual sterile white. Glad to see that's working fine. Standing there, I expected someone to at least reveal themselves already. It's like a game of chicken to see if I'll break down first. I folded my arms, standing awkwardly in the centre of the room. Nothing but absolute, stifling silence. Guys? With every passing second, a heavy sense of trepidation grew. I swallowed down the inevitability I had to accept that it wasn't a practical joke after all, shuffling to the console hurriedly. I checked the rest of the systems. Artificial gravity, navigation, communications. My brows furrowed as I squinted down at all the panels. It's like everything was reset. I perked up as I caught sight of the reboot logo for the ship, thrumming back and forth on one of the screens. Psi AP must be restarting. I waited impatiently for the familiar dinky chime to ring through the speakers. Psi? Hello. The low, droning voice was littered with more static than usual. I was just glad to hear someone talk back. Oh, thank gods. Is everything all right? You don't sound too good. The current state of my systems are suboptimal. Several of my primary functions are. Oh. are disabled or inoperable. I recommend repairs immediately. I'll get right on that once I figure out what's going on. I fidgeted with my tool belt as I thought of something simple to ask. What happened to the ship? Where is everyone else? I feel like finding everyone else will help get the ship back in order. That, to me, I just need to know everyone's okay before worrying about the ship. One crew member accounted for. Just one? That was concerning. There's supposed to be 5 of us. Can you, scan for everyone else? Negative. What? Why? As I have mentioned, I am in dire need of repairs. My biometric scanners are inoperable. My tracking systems are inoperable. My surveillance... Okay, I got it. What could possibly cause so much damage in my sleep? What happened to the ship? There was a short pause before Sai was able to respond. Significant impact was detected against rear exterior of the ship. My brow raised. We hit something? Affirmative. I grimaced, my worst fear coming true. I was really, really hoping that wasn't the case. And how long ago? Approximately 24 minutes ago. And I was passed out on the floor the entire time? This might be more serious than I thought. Okay, that answers that. How bad is it? Unknown. Manual assessment required. I gulped, my breath stilling for a second. The thought of having to leave the safety of the ship and crawl along the outside, tethered by nothing but a flimsy cable to inspect damage who knows how bad. I leaned forward as a nervous laugh spilled between my teeth, hands gripping the edge of the console to steady myself. I'll get to it later. Okay. I said I'll get to it later. I do not recommend postponing the repairs. It is affecting my performance significantly lately. I'm not postponing, I'm just building up to it. I really insist that drop it, Sigh. Aw, poor Sigh. Very well. Deep down, I knew it was foolish to disregard Sigh's advice. I was the mechanic, for God's sake. Fixing things was the entire point of me being hired into this crew. I didn't need a semi-advanced AI to tell me that. I turned my attention back to the console. My eyes were glued to the big red button right at the edge, my hand twitching with the urge to press it. Maybe it was too soon to panic, but with everything going on, I was stumped on what to do. I held back, clenching my hands into fists so tight I could hear my gloves squeak. If I pressed that button and made a fool of myself, not a single person on this vessel would let me live it down. Dread forming in my throat, I dragged my boots across the floor, ignoring the tremors in my hands as I prepared to head for the loading bay. Pausing at the door, I threw out one last question to the air. We're not in imminent danger, are we? Sigh? Are we in danger? Error. I pinched my brows, gathering whatever courage I had. Astrophobia be damned, I had to do my job. If you have astrophobia, my guy, what are you doing here? Traversing down the halls, I kept an eye out for any signs of my crew members. While repairing the Bidadari was my main priority at the moment, it didn't hurt to see if I could find any of my absent colleagues. Plus, I wasn't really thrilled with the idea of leaving the ship without someone watching my back. Maybe I was still holding on to the hope that this was all some sick joke. They just upped the game with their pranks is all, seeing as they haven't gotten a decent reaction out of me in a while. They couldn't have possibly abandoned me, right? Just as my thoughts were about to spiral into negative territory, I heard faint footsteps from down the hall. My head whipped to the side. My head whipped to the side, just in time for me to catch a glimpse of one of my crewmates donned in one of the external suits. Were they from the loading bay? The helmet shone against the bright light, obscuring the wearer inside as they darted out of sight. Oh, that's normal. My hope rekindled. I quickly pursued them down the hall. Hey! I turned the corner just to see their back in time. Hey, wait up! They instantly stopped, spinning on their heel and staring back at me with a rigid spine. Aww, that's such a... Aww! Adorable. I couldn't see their eyes from behind the darkened glass, but I could feel the weight of their gaze. I looked down at the name tag on their suit, but it seemed to have been ripped off. Whoever it was, I didn't care. I'm so glad I finally found someone. I was this close to thinking. I hesitated, biting down on my tongue. I couldn't show this person I was freaking out. Absolutely not. Anyways, where's everyone else? Do you know where they are? They stood completely still, seeming to tremble slightly. Gumma? Their voice came out muffled. What? Hang on, let me just... I reached over to flick the mic on their helmet. They paused for a moment before speaking once more, their hesitant voice ringing through. Luna? That's better. They seemed to vibrate with excitement. Ah! Delight! Amazing to see you. Amazing to... I looked over their frame, trying to pinpoint their height or look for any indicator that I knew who this was. Oh my god. I love this art style. This is so cute. Whoever it was, they were pretty short. Is that you, Marcus? They bristled as if offended. The doctor? Ill. He is smelly like the meteor slugs and star debris. Okay. Is that you, Kiara? They scoffed. Nosy cook? She is smelly too. Oh. Who could this possibly be? Based on their attitude so far, it didn't seem like it was anyone I recognized. I clawed my brain for another hint. I'm pretty sure that's not you, Ben. They made an indignant noise. I am none of your friends. None of my... Oh. Are you... that new recruit we got a few days ago? What a terrible time for introductions. I definitely heard in passing between gossips, management sent us yet another new member for our small crew. They're usually considered an extra set of hands around the ship, something about training on the job. I felt bad. They're probably being paid pennies for a position that wasn't even permanent. Not to mention ending up in a busted ship days after arriving. Normally, in 2 months, they'll be dropped off at the next depot and we'll be picking up a new stranger in their place. At least if things went well and the ship doesn't explode. I hide the guilt in my eyes behind a smile. In that case, I don't think we've met. I'm usually so busy running around the ship doing other people's errands. Anyways, I'm silent. I held out my hand. And you are? They freeze again, staring at my hand as if expecting it to grow teeth and start snapping at them. Luna. You will shake my hand? Their hand darted out to grip mine tightly, squeezing so hard I've let out an involuntary yelp. Hey, watch the grip! They quickly released my hand, recoiling. Ah! Mistake! Sorry, I mean to say, silent. I did not mean to meet you so soon. I was still in the middle of cleaning. Cleaning? I raised a brow. Since when did we start hiring janitors? They gave a terse, awkward laugh like the tittering of a bird call. Aw. Not the kind of cleaning I talk about, but yes. Okay. For the life of me, I couldn't pinpoint what accent they spoke in. I'm sorry, what was your name again? They stilled. I did not... They looked around before pointing at my tool belt excitedly. You will call me Wrench. I blinked behind my visor. Pardon? Wrench. Yes! Like the shiny thing on your hip. Lookful. I glanced down at it before regarding them with an incredulous squint. My colleagues probably put them up to this. I am not calling you that. They deflated, shoulders sinking in disappointment. Aww. Call them what they want to be called. Oh, fine. You will call me... Atom. Adam? Atom! They gave a huffy sigh, arms akimbo. You are a tiny bit deaf. I will remember. I'm not... When did they start hiring such eccentric members? What kind of a name is Atom anyway? At least it was better than Wrench. I shook my head, resisting the urge to just turn around and leave. You didn't answer me, though. Do you know where everyone else is? They shrugged, teetering back and forth on their toes. I have not seen them. They might be hiding. I narrowed my eyes in doubt. Why would they be? By the ways, I have very important question. It means life and death. What? What is it? What is your favourite colour? Oh, that's a very loaded question, Atom. What? What is your favourite colour? Jeez, relax. I want to answer now. Fine. It's... Okay, it's green. Indulgent. Green like nebula butterfly. Very fresh. If black was on the list, I would have picked black. I didn't see. All I saw was the timer, and my eyes gravitated towards green. Very fresh. I will remember. I sputtered, giving them a deadpan look. What are you, 12? We don't have time for this. I am 6 moons old, actually. Stop messing around. Look, I don't know what your deal is, but we have missing crewmates and a malfunctioning ship. How you're not freaking out is beyond me, but could you please get your head on straight and help me figure this out? They stayed silent, barely moving a muscle. My glare falters. Maybe I was a little harsh. At least until they started clapping their hands with a soft giggle. Inspire! I will help you to ends of galaxy, Luna. It's silent. Silent, of course. Silly the me. I huffed, resisting the urge to rub my temples. Rookies. Were they under the impression that I was someone important? Still, the presence of one strange individual as company was better than none at all. Where was I? Oh, right. Loading bay, exosuit, fixing ship. 3 simple things. I cleared my throat, hiding my anxiety as my arm gestured towards the opposite of the hall where they were headed. I need someone to watch my back while I go outside. They perked up. Outside? You would like to swim? I frowned at their strange analogy before nodding. Yeah. Oh, okay. Who is Sai? I blinked. The AI of the ship. Ah, of course. The AA. But there is no need, Luna. I already fix. You did? I was wondering why they were wearing the suit. It had to be for a reason. Hang on, I thought you were cleaning. I have many talents. Skillful. That's great. I guess I don't have to then. I stood there awkwardly, rerouting my priorities now that one major task was taken care of. I had to admit I was relieved. Anything to keep me the furthest I could be from the vastness of space. I guess all that's left is to find the others. They didn't seem too happy about that. Others? Why? Why? Is that even worth asking? They lifted their head as if to give me a passive-aggressive look behind their dark helmet. I am sure they are around. Wasting. It didn't take a genius to figure out how Atom felt about the rest of the team. Wasting time or wasting away, Atom? Be honest with me. My co-workers must have been giving them the newbie treatment. Hate their guts, huh? They tittered quietly. Their guts? Yes. But you care. So I will follow. Hopping on their foot, they clapped their hands once more. It will be chance for me to know you better, Luna. Silent. Silent! I sighed, turning around to start heading towards the cabins. Let's go. Let us. Aw, Atom's so cute. I don't trust them at all. Hours. Hours of searching up and down and sideways. We looked through every possible nook and cranny of this ship I could think of. Picked clean as a carcass. Am I just going insane? Or did they really actually abandon me? I don't understand. Where could they be? Atom fiddled with their glove, humming an incoherent tune. Gone! I inhaled shakily, digging my hand through my hair. How? They're prime-time jerks, but this is too much. They couldn't have just ditched me. Where would they even go? Do not fret, Luna. You are not alone. You have me. My eye twitched. That's not as big of a reassurance as you think it is. Papa! Would you like to eat? I think you should eat. Humans feel better after food, yes? What do you cook now too, next to cleaning and fixing? I do many things. I couldn't muster up the energy to even sigh. We already have Kiara handling our meals. They sputtered as if I'd just spat on their boot. Her food is inferior. Hardly crunchy. I paused for a moment, wondering if I should question them further, but decided it wasn't worth the interrogation. If you say so. Okay, so you didn't pick up on the fact that this person said humans. Okay. They specified humans, sir. So you're a janitor, mechanic, and cook. What planet did they pick you up from, huh? They flicked their wrist as if I've given them a compliment. Rejoice! I am very talented. I can do anything for you, Luna. Anything except find our crewmates, apparently. They shrugged nonchalantly, not a care in the world. Their apathy was something to behold. It wasn't my place to judge, but I just couldn't help feeling suspicious. Wow, really? You certainly meet a lot of different types of people working this job. I straightened. Atom did mention they fixed the ship, didn't they? I figured asking Sai again would be worth a shot. Not to mention, for these cases, maybe it was about time to look through the logs. Let's head back to Maine. Maybe I can figure out what happened here. There. They gave an enthusiastic double thumbs up, eager to follow close with a pep in their step. I was still deciding whether I preferred being alone or not. Count my blessings, I suppose. We entered the main console, my steps leading me to the archives unit. Keying in my ID, I scrolled through the past few hours. Only to feel my heart shrivel, freeze, and drop in the span of a second. Every single log file in existence was corrupted. Even the backups. Even the backups of those backups. How could it... Hey! Silent! I actually just remember another life and death question! Oh God. Not now, Atom. My fingers work the keys, digging around for something. Anything. Atom fidgets and shuffles beside me. But it is very important. I mean it very much this time. I said not now. They made another indignant noise, mumbling under their breath. Grumpy. I will remember. Other than that, they seemed to stay put, watching me closely as I agonized over the console. Where is everything? I yelped as the console sparks, static riddling the screen before it turned off completely. What? No! I could only stare back at my reflection, wisps of smoke curling between the crevices of the keys. Atom leaned over my shoulder to take a peek. Do you have time for life and death question now? I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply, counting to 3 before exhaling out. What is it? Atom made a happy noise, glad to have my attention again. What can you eat? Okay. I furrowed my brows. What? What do you mean? They chuffed impatiently, tapping their foot. What can you eat? What can you eat without dying horrible, painful, choking death? Will you explode like Craterbug if I give you the nut? Or your guts will fail and liquefy if I give you a lactose? Were they asking if I had any allergies? That's very considerate of them. This is a very considerate person. They mentioned something about cooking, didn't they? Our dietary information and restrictions are in our files. You didn't think to check? I could hear the pout in their voice. Reading will take time. You will tell me now. I roll my eyes, irritation clear on my face. If it gets you off my back... Okay, I can eat anything. I can eat anything. Convenient. I will remember. I fixed them with a pointed look. Aren't you worried, Atom? Where is everyone else? Shouldn't you be asking about their favourite colours and their tummy problems too? At the question, their demeanour shifted. No. They starve. The dead seriousness in their voice completely threw me off. It was full of stone-cold malice, unlike anything I've ever heard from them. I know they can be real insufferable at times. Trust me, I know. But the fact they're missing is still a huge concern. They folded their arms, a rising heat in their tone. They are mean and bossy and kick you around. The captain, she is the worst. I will never forgive her. I blinked, wondering where the hell that even came from. How did you... I shook my head, my frustration rising with every second of interaction with this newbie. I think you're being unreasonable. I think this person is looking out for you in the most heartfelt way they possibly can, and they've clearly probably killed everyone on this ship. So I'd say cut your losses and be nice. But that's just me. I think Atom is adorable right now. But that doesn't matter. This entire situation is wrong. Can't you see that? They shrugged. Everything I want to care about is right here. Never mind. Also, this character is far too dismissive of the things that Atom is saying right now. This is insane. I glanced over at the control panel, eyes scanning over the buttons and dials before landing on that very, very enticing big red button. I walked towards it. What are you doing? Calling for help. Captain always said not to press it unless necessary, but circumstances are dire. Or at least I would if the big red button didn't burst into sparks and smoke just as my fingertips reached for it. I stared slack-jawed as my hand hovered mid-air 1 feet away from what should have been my one last ticket to salvation away from this mess. What is happening? Amongst the many deities living in the stars, there's got to be one out there that absolutely detests my entire whole being. Atom made a hum of acknowledgement, staring at the console. Bad luck. I scoffed, gritting my teeth as I fumbled with my tool belt. Luck has nothing to do with this. Getting on my knees, I worked at the panelling underneath the main console until it popped off with an unceremonious ka-chunk. Atoms stiffened behind me. I could only freeze in horror, attempting to comprehend what I was looking at. Oh, fun! What was supposed to be wires and circuit boards were riddled with pulsing, inky tentacles. No, not tentacles. Worms. They bobbed and weaved and slid through the internal circuitry, barring any possible attempt I had to even tinker with it. Ever insistent, I decided to proceed anyway, pulling out my screwdriver and poking the closest part with the tip. Oh dear. They wriggled away in response. Oh, well, that's nice of them. Whatever they were responded to stimuli. That's creepy as hell. A voice murmured softly next to my ear. I do not think you should touch that, Luna. My grip tightened on my screwdriver. I don't think so either. I left it open, refusing to touch it more than I had to, even with gloves on. But I had to be sure. One by one, I pried open every hatch and opening I could think of within the room. Nothing but worms. Atom fidgeted with their hands, silent all the while. For once they seemed to understand my growing desperation. My gut roiled in disgust as I tossed the final panel away, the metal clattering against the floor. They've taken over the ship. Missing crewmates, malfunctioning AI, unknown funky organisms crawling through the ship. What the hell is anyone even supposed to do in this situation? I was never trained for this. Or I was, but that was orientation months ago. And all they told us was to press the big red freaking button. Pacing back and forth, I fidgeted with the flaps on my tool belt, muttering solutions under my breath. Luna? Silent. Silent? I do not see why you worry. Do you not see the worms everywhere? I have seen them before. Safe. My steps halted at the casual admission. You've seen them before. They're not dangerous. Safe. Secure. But you told me not to touch them. Just because safe does not mean touch. I glanced around the room, uncomfortable tingles running up my arms just looking at all the wriggling. Without the haze of panic, I could pick up on the distinct smell of burnt eggs. I held back the urge to gag. Tell me you can look at all of this and not want to puke. They jerked as if I just insulted their mother. 1, that is rude. 2, I have seen worse. The worms were spilling out to the floor and disappearing through the grates at our feet. But there's so many. They tutted in disappointment. Are you also scared of 100 million ants? That sounds terrifying. You are giant to ants, Luna. Well, scared of ants. I will remember. What was that? Nothing. Worms safe. Admittedly, their easygoing demeanour about the whole thing did help calm me a little. A detail they seemed pleased by. I have another life and death question. Not another one of these. Is this a hobby of yours? What animal is your favourite? Don't ignore my question with another question. Alright, I feel like if worms is going to be on this list, I should probably click on that. But I also don't want to lie to Atom because they seem like a lovely person who's definitely not an alien worm. Animal! Now! Oh my god. What is my favourite animal? Oh, I get to type this one out. Yay! Okay. What is my favourite animal? That's a very difficult question. I adore dogs. I love dogs so much. I love snakes. Snakes are so cool. There are just so many animals in the world that are just awesome. Monkeys are great. And my brain is blanking on every other animal that exists. So that's fun. I think I'm gonna have to say snakes. Snakes. Which are basically just scaled worms, if you think about it. Wonder. I will remember. Can we take it easy with the icebreakers already? But understanding Luna is so much fun. Stop calling me that. What is wrong with calling you Luna? Nothing's wrong with it, it's just not my name. So I can call you Luna. That's not what I said. Okay. I groaned, burying my face into my hands. Do what you want. They giggled cheerfully, hopping on one foot. I will. Can we get back to the worms? If you've seen them before, then how do you deal with them? You do not. I'm sorry, you do not? Why deal with worms if safe? Just because safe does not mean let them infest the entire ship, Atom. Why not? Do I really need to explain? Actually, you don't answer that. You know what? Stop talking. I'm just going to sigh. A soft crackle emitted from the speakers. How may I assist? I slumped in relief at hearing the monotonous voice once more. Meanwhile, Atom seems to huff in annoyance, folding their arms after being brushed aside. I gave them a short glance of acknowledgement before turning my attention back to the ceiling. Where's the nearest station we can dock at? The nearest station is approximately 555. Recalculating. Apologies. I cannot finalize the distance. What? I thought you were fixed. I was. It seems my navigational systems have been tampered with. Tampered? What do you mean tampered with? I have been tampered with. I know you said that, but in what way? A different way. If Sai had a neck, I'd be gently wringing it. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Like changed, altered. Affirmative. Who would? I looked over at Atom out of the corner of my eye, who's been staring at me the entire time. A brief second of paranoia filled my chest before I quickly quelled it. They've been with me for the past few hours. It didn't make sense. Is it the same for everything else? Does it feel like everything else has been altered, I mean? Yes and no. Upon rebooting, several of my visual functions were inoperable. However, ever since my waking up, the loss of control has been increasing in increments since... Wait, what? You! So you're telling me you're worse off than before? Affirmative. Why didn't you tell me sooner? My initiative directives were also tampered with as of 60 minutes ago. I cannot do what is not asked of me. I groaned. Loss of control? So what does that mean? Are we being hijacked? Why would anyone even want to take over this stupid vessel? We just deliver Earthian pet kibble and platinum grade chew toys. It is not an attack. The source is from within. Within? The worms. Must have been those gross worms crawling through the systems. Then what can I do? May I suggest interrogate? I have a suggestion. My head slowly turned to regard the newbie with an apathetic look. Yes, Atom. Take walk with me. My glare turned furious at their nonsense. In what 70 billion galaxies would that help? You told me these things were safe, and look at what they did. We're stranded. Despite practically blowing up in their face, their helmet tilted, nothing but jubilance radiating off their body. Walk will help. Promise. Promise, Luna. It will help. Yeah, let's take a walk with Atom. Why not? I completely trust Atom, and I am 100% certain that there could not be anything untoward going on with this person. Maybe it was the fact that I just needed a breather, but I ended up agreeing to go with Atom. They could tell I was about to accept their invitation, considering they took a step towards me and yanked me forward by the wrist before I could even say a word. The next thing I knew, my boots were thumping against the grates behind theirs, their grip around my wrist firm without a chance for me to slip. Their excited laughter echoed as they led me down the halls, less of a brisk walk and more of a merry jog. They confidently took turns without even glancing to check. It seemed they had a destination in mind. Eventually, they stopped in front of one of the airlocks, or rather, what we used as the garbage chute. Technology wasn't sophisticated on this ship. That was something I had to accept ages ago. Every time I came into proximity around this area, I worried the creaking would finally give way to a collapsed doorway sucking me into the abyss. I kinda understood why Atom brought me here. The view through the glass separating us from oblivion in the other room was still, admittedly, breathtaking. Though, in my case, it would be literal. Considering I have to hold back a panic attack every time I caught a glimpse outside. I wasn't even terrified of space until I got this job. Some practical jokes just leave a worse impression than others. Atom doesn't notice my subtle distress, or even if they did, decided to ignore it. It is like I remember. You've been here before. Many moons ago. One day I take you swimming. Swimming? Oh, right, they meant outside. Just the very thought made my palms sweat, my heart sinking within my ribcage. Did they really get a thrill from helplessly floating out in space? It would explain why they haven't taken off the suit yet. I don't think I can. Yes, you can. It is easy. They reached for my hands, intertwining our fingers and squeezing gently through our gloves. I'm fully throwing myself into trusting this person who is definitely 100% no ever doubt could be anything other than a human being inside this suit. Atom's really cute. They're adorable. The contact was out of the blue, but at this point I've come to accept my crewmates' quirks. Otherwise I wouldn't have agreed to this nonsense in the first place. Maybe the stress of the unknown was making me lenient. I couldn't see their face, but I could somehow tell they were beaming. Wait, we're not doing this now, right? I don't want to go outside. They tilted their head in confusion. We are not. You are not wearing suit for swimming. Oh. I relaxed. Then, is there a reason we're holding hands next to the dumpster? Many reason. Can you give me, one? They hummed in thought. I remember great happiness here. Huh? You ask for reason. That is reason. They tightened their grip, stepping forward into my space, their helmet nearly bumping my nose. I startled, leaning back. I can tolerate the hand-holding, but I'd appreciate my own bubble of oxygen, Atom. They laughed again, light and airy. I will make your oxygen for you. What? I only want to see you. Are you trying to see every single pore on my face too? They tittered again, a smile in their voice. You are funny. I will remember. I sighed. That was barely a joke. Why do you keep saying that like you're keeping tabs on me? They paused briefly before realizing what I was referring to. I should know, must know, everything to make Luna happy. Nothing else that is matter will matter. I held my breath, staring at them in bewilderment. At this point, I couldn't even deny it anymore. It was clear Atom was smitten. Gods know why. That's a bold confession. Not bold enough. Never enough. Okay, calm down there. Should I just ask? Atom? Clear and open communication is key, okay? So I'm going to ask you this and you're going to be honest with me. Are you in love with me? It wouldn't hurt to ask, right? Maybe the sooner I get them to admit it, the sooner we could stop this ridiculous rendezvous and focus on what actually mattered. Okay, I'm not entirely loving the way that this character is speaking right now, but that's okay, that's okay. It makes sense. In a real life scenario, their mindset would make sense. I can appreciate that. Are you in love with me? Their hands dropped mine as if they were hot coals. Ah! Luna? Love? Love does not begin. They lunged for my hands again, squeezing tighter and tighter. You will let me? I was just asking. You will let me? That depends. On what? If you save the ship, if you find my friends. Ooh. See, I feel like Atom may have killed our friends. Let's focus on fixing the ship first. Because we don't like these people anyway. We don't. But if we get the ship fixed, then we have something that we can, work towards. Atom choked on a laugh. Save the ship, save the ship, save the ship. Easy. I am almost done cleaning. Cleaning? The lights flickered, turning to a coloured hue. Your favourite. Aw, that's cute. I blinked. The lights weren't meant to do that. What did you just do? They laughed cheerily, holding out their arms as if proud. I make ship better. You will not need Sai anymore. You will not need friends anymore. I will care for everything. Food, flesh, favourite things. Everything will be your liking, my Luna Nova. What? Ah, right. You are a tiny bit deaf. Should I repeat? No. Can you please explain what's going on? What did you just do to the ship? Where are my comrades? If I am being honest, you will not like me. Their words sent a cold chill up my back. But that is all right. Everything is all right. This isn't all right. Nothing was ever all right with this person. Atom admired my silence for a moment before leaning closer. What is it you want, Luna? Ask, and I will give everything of me. I want to... We are going to commit so hard to Luna. It's not going to make sense for his character, but it's going to make sense for me. Hit them with your wrench, hit them with your... No! No! I don't want to hit them with my wrench. That's going to make Atom sad. Oh, okay. Oh no! I braced my feet on the ground and swung, the sound of glass cracking sharp to my ears as the impact travelled down my shoulder. Atom made a sound like a strangled animalistic cry, dropping to their knees and clutching at their head. Typically, space helmets shouldn't crack under that kind of force. They were supposed to be bulletproof and you'd crack your skull sooner than you'd crack your helmet. But the company was cheap. And for once that was to my benefit. I am sad in this moment. Luna? My eyes widened as I stumbled back. Aww. Poor baby. Worms dripped out of their head, slapping wetly against the grate before joining the rest between the crevices. I already knew they couldn't possibly be part of my crew, but seeing what was essentially a suit full of worms did it for me. Loon! I bang another hit for good measure. A guttural screech scattering more worms across the floor. This is so mean. Luna! I gripped the wrench tight, abandoning their crawling form to sprint down the hall towards the emergency escape pods. Luna! The walls and floors creaked and groaned as I ran, contorting in shape to trip me. I righted myself with a flailing of my arms, coughing for breath as I threw open the hatch for the escape pod and clambered inside in a mess of limbs. I buckled in, hands shaking as I flicked buttons and dials for the ignition, heart painfully hammering against my ribs. The countdown flickers on screen, the vessel shuddering to life. 10, 9, 8, Luna! I screamed, jumping in my seat. Atom clawed at the pod, its worm-like innards pulsing and bulging between the cracks of its shattered helm. 6. Luna! 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 5. It giggled softly, sighing in mock disapproval. 4. You know it is useless. So smart. But tiny bit stupid. The buttons and dials reset simultaneously with harrowing clicks, the pod jittering to a stop. I was left staring at Atom's cracked helmet as it chitters, its laugh sounding more insect-like. You can have tantrum. I do not mind. It leaned against the glass, helmet thudding as it tilted its head in that love-struck way characters do in cartoons. I will wait. Its fingers tapped playfully against the glass, distorted humming coming from the mass inside of its head. I sat there frozen, my body unable to even tremble from shock. I licked my lips, refusing to look away. My voice sounded distant and muffled even through my own ears. What are you? Atom stopped its rhythmic tapping. Talkative so soon? I can't do anything else. It stared a moment before giggling, shoulders shaking with mirth. Candid. Very true. What I am. It seemed to consider a moment before knocking its helm against the glass again in excitement. Do you remember, Luna, many moons ago on this ship? I was small, weak and hungry. I racked my brains for an inkling of what it was talking about. A stowaway? Was it possible? I was ready to die, but I sneak into the metal box instead and find crunchy bits. Food? You found food? The edibles. Yes! Joy and applause. But I found food to also find. Problem. Your friends. Mean and nasty. Surround me like moon lions. If you're going to be stealing our rations, of course they'd be pissed. The worms writhed wildly as if in anger. But I was so small and weak. They want to crush me under boots and burn me alive. Every single face, stormy. All but yours. They paused for a moment, reminiscing. The worms calmed. You look at me. Mercy. Start among the black holes. Their tone softened to that of reverence. Do you remember? Holding me in your glove? Do you remember? Shooting me into space? I shot you into space? That sounded like a death sentence rather than a rescue. And then it clicked. 6 months ago. You got into the dog food, didn't you? It perked up, nodding eagerly. Maria had found a pest digging through the supplies and eating through half the bags. She called the whole group to catch it while I was busy repairing the hole it crawled through. Caught in a jar. shaken and punished just trying to survive. Kiara suggested throwing it in the engine furnace. Marcus wanted to pick it apart. The others chimed in other horrible, torturous methods out of boredom when letting it out of the airlock hatch was so easy. I ran off with it just as they started bickering. It was no bigger than my palm. I just thought you were an endangered species. In an honest, truthful way, I did. The markings matched, didn't they? It let out a chirp of amusement. You are very smart with the ship, but tiny bit stupid with the animals. It sighed longingly, tracing a circle over my face with a finger on the glass. I remember your smile. I cannot forget. I never forget. You saved my life, my Lunar Nova. My kind answer action in spades. You are getting what you deserve. The pod shuddered, screws spinning loose and dropping to the ground with muffled clinks by my boots. I watched in horror as worms started squeezing in through the holes. Oh, okay. No, this is fine. This is great. Swarming in, they land on my lap, my arms, my shoulders, the gap around my collar. I can feel them curl around my ear, brushing against my cheek, prodding against my visor. More and more, piling on and on. Get them off me! I unbuckled myself, kicking open the hatch as Atom stepped back in time. Bursting out of the pod, I scrambled to flick away the horrid things off my body, shuddering as the sensation still ghosted over my skin. Atom watched, hardly offended. Ha-ha! I got impatient. It snatched my hand before I could finish ridding myself of the worms. The remaining ones curled around me, sticking to my clothes and skin in a way that was almost affectionate. Now we have our home ready. What would you like to do, my Lunar Nova? Home? It nodded excitedly. Home! Ship! Right. Atom looked over the bidadari. Even now I could hear distant creaking and dull rumbling all around us, transmitting gentle tremors from under my boots. Like the ship itself had come alive, breathing. My voice came out meek and numb. I want to go back to Earth. Atom shook its head. No, no, no. I am better than any planet. I can make anything. Here. It cupped its palms together and something started wriggling underneath its gloves. Small coloured pebbles rolled into its hands from the cuffs of its sleeves, growing into a pile before it presented them to me. Scrumptious! I recognized the dry pellets instantly. Is it offering me dog food? I gently nudged its hand back down. I can't eat that. It gasped in shock, an intense pout in its voice. Why not? You can eat anything, yes? You told me so. That doesn't include dog food. It sighed and tutted, the worms wriggling about in annoyance. Fine, fine. I learned from Cook what to cook. I paused. Are you talking about Kiara? I dig her brain for recipe. Plentiful. What does that even... Never mind. I don't want to know. Somewhere in my confusion, Atom had hidden the kibble away. Suspiciously muffled crunching noises come from within its chest. I eyed it warily. What were those even made of? If it had a mouth, it would give me a cheeky grin. Uh-oh. Me! My body shuddered, squinting down into its gaping head wound. The smell of burnt eggs was even more intense. I don't want to eat worms. It laughed, nonchalant. It will not taste like worms. Did not even look like worms, remember? Oh! I can also make you some snakes. I do not know what snakes is, but Luna can show me. Would you like? Your own snakes? I briefly imagined an animal made of wriggling black worms. I ignored the nausea collecting in the back of my throat at the thought. That's fine. I pointed at its helmet. Doesn't that hurt? It made a confused noise before realizing where I was staring. It is like fresh air. Fresh air. Atom really is just worms. You're not mad at me. You said you return favors, so... It shook its head quickly. I will never, ever. You can do the hitting again if that is what you want. Okay, well that's... Atom, you need to learn boundaries yourself, okay? You're a lovely creature. Don't ever be okay with that, okay? Protect yourself. What? No, don't be crazy. Then again, what did I expect from something not even human? I startled as Atom removed my glove. Oh, that's so cute. Raising my hand with a firm grip, Atom nuzzled into me, carefully avoiding nicking me on the jagged edges. Oh, look at the little heart. The smooth glass rubbed against my palm as the worms retreated within the helm, avoiding touching me directly. See, she's being considerate. Even then, it let one stray worm curl around my thumb, the texture cold and foreign and strange. I could feel light vibrations on my skin as they let out a happy hum. This is just adorable. We will sing and dance and fall in love, Luna. I cleared my throat awkwardly, resisting the urge to tug my hand free. I think you're being a little too optimistic for your own good, Atom. It chittered happily at the sound of its chosen name on my lips. Optimist. Of course I am. You have no choice but to like me. Its hold tightened around my wrist. And do not ever think of escaping. I will hunt you, I will find you, and we will start all over again. I gulped. What if I ask nicely? No. Stay. But stay. I swallowed thickly, not daring to move a muscle or protest another word. I didn't think I'd be held hostage by an enamored parasitic worm extraterrestrial thing. This whole situation was so bizarre, I expected to wake up under red lights again if I tried hard enough. This is crazy. It tutted in satisfaction. What is the saying of that melody? No es la locura, en realidad es el amor? You used to be my angel, Silent. The lights over our heads dimmed, the reflection of Atom's helmet illuminating the look of dread on my face. Now I can be yours. End. We dance in synchronous rotation. Thank you for playing. Ah, that was good. That was cute. I loved that. Obviously, in real life relationships, that's very unhealthy and toxic, and you should try and get out as safely as possible and not tolerate that sort of stuff. But for a fictitious visual novel, including alien space worms, that was the most adorable alien space worm collective I've ever seen. And I think our character was being very rude. The art style was so good, so adorable. I loved it. It was nice. I enjoyed it. That was good. Nothing like a little bit of parasitic love, you know? To really get the good emotions rolling. Until the next video, farewell.